or good evening, whatever your time is. This is Hedgepig, and I am going to be making breakfast for dinner. I've got to move my pot here. I can't see the screen. Um, so, Pink Pig? I don't hear Pink Pig coming up. Yeah, it's a fail. Just for that, though, I will do it manually. Pink Pig! It's Pink Pig! Pink, 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 Pink Pig! That was a freebie for everybody. Okay, so what I decided to do this Saturday was breakfast for dinner. These are going to be things that will come together easily. They will feed your family, and they make good breakfasts, good brunches, good dinners. Um, I am going to be making a breakfast lasagna to start, and that is going to be based on biscuits and gravy. Yum, 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 yum. And it's going to be very lasagna-like. It's going to use lasagna noodles, so it will have much less carbs, and you can get uh, noodles. You can get them in gluten-free. You can, I believe, even now get them in, um, you can get them in the protein ones made with chickpea flour. So it's keto friendly as well. And it has eggs and lots of cheese in it, and it will have, sorry, my brain is stalling. It will have turkey sausage gravy. Oops. Uh, Sorry about that. My phone decided to ring. Um, so it will have turkey sausage gravy in it that you would normally put over biscuits and gravy. My first experience with this was at my oldest brother's house, and um, on a Saturday when neither one of us were working, he made homemade biscuits and scrambled eggs. Yeah, I have Christmas music and a Christmas theme all year long on my phone. Drives Andrew nuts. Um, so he made homemade biscuits. He made just gorgeous scrambled eggs with cheese in it. And then because he knew I couldn't have pork, he made sausage gravy for me with turkey sausage. And oh, that was just so yummy. But since I have developed diabetes, I do try to, at least sometimes, most of the time, um, lower the amount of. There we go. I heard it that time. Um, I try to lower the carb content, and this makes it also, instead of being something that is made with bread, it is made with the noodles instead. So let's get started. The first thing we are going to do is cook the sausage. The second thing I'm going to mention is that the second dish I'll be making while the lasagna is melting the cheese in the oven, I will be making what my family calls Panicaku. And as near as I can tell, from what they told me, it is based upon a Dutch pancake, basically. And it is spelled, I'm going to spell it for everybody here, Pannenkoek, and it's from the Netherlands. And I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I think it's basically pancake. So it's basically a pancake. It's sort of a cross between a quiche and a pancake. It does inflate a little bit, but not as much as like a Dutch baby. And it is considerably eggier. It comes together in about 5 minutes, bakes in the oven, and is just a wonderful quick dish that's Very yummy. My grandfather, while he was very, very sick, my father's father, he was Dutch. And he was a sucker for things like me telling him, I know how to make something that's Dutch, Grandpa. Would you try to eat it for me? And so we tried to get him to eat things, and this is one of the things that he would eat because it was Dutch. So it helped keep him around a little bit longer when he was having a very hard time with both his appetite and his ability to eat. So we are going to start with the sausage gravy, and it starts with 2 pounds of um, turkey sausage. And I have got this, oh boy, that's bad. I have got this from Jennie-O, and it's just a very mild turkey sausage that does not contain garlic. Um, so we take it here and we cut it open, and I'm going to take the second pound. Fortunately, these are sold by the pound, so that's nice. So you can easily multiply or have this if you want to. And let me think, where's the oil? There's the oil. Now, normally with sausage, like a pork sausage, it has a lot of fat in it. So you don't really need to add things like oil to it or anything to keep it from sticking. But this is turkey, and turkey sausage does have a very lean profile. It is, not sure what the fat content is. 1.5 grams, total of 6 grams, much lower than pork. I am going to turn on this is my deep fryer because I'm going to be making the gravy in this as well. And that's going to have 6 cups of milk. So you need to make enough of the sauce, like if you were making a red sauce for a lasagna, you need to make an equal amount of this white sauce, which is made of turkey sausage. So I'm going to go ahead and put the turkey sausage in here. And hope when my husband comes back that he gives me something to throw away my garbage in. So, all right. The recipe is already up on my Discord. So I actually caught up on what I was supposed to be doing. I posted last week's salmon and tomato cream sauce. I posted that, and at the same time I posted the recipe for today. And I actually don't need the stick of butter. So that's on me there. I just automatically put the ingredients for making a white sauce in here. In this case, it doesn't. I'll just put it in there until now. That just needs to go back in the fridge. All right. Okay, thank you. So I've got the turkey sausage in here heating up now. It is on about a medium-high temperature, between medium and medium-high, and that is because it needs to brown. And I will take one of my favorite spatulas at this point. And it has nice slots in it, which makes it fun for doing other kinds of cooking. It flips eggs really well as well. This is a sausage that has a rosemary profile in it, so what you will taste a lot of in it is rosemary, which goes very well with the gravy. Sage is another thing that goes really well with it. And this contains a lot of eggs because this is going to make a large lasagna, and it will feed quite efficiently a large gathering of probably 10 at least. Um, this is something that you can make at the time you want it and cook it immediately in the oven, or you can refrigerate it, keep it overnight. So if you have like guests coming over for, um... hey Helen, welcome in. Uh, you joined us at the beginning where I am making breakfast for dinner. I'm starting out with a breakfast lasagna that is based on biscuits and gravy, basically. And as I was saying, you can, if you have family coming in or guests, you can make this the night before, refrigerate it, and then just take it out and put it in the oven to finish it in the morning or for your brunch whenever you want to. And it just makes it that much easier on yourself. You can also uh, take it, get it to the point where you would put it in the oven and freeze it. And it is so nice to be able to have this, make it during your off times when you're not going to be busy cleaning your house and getting everything ready. Put it in the freezer, you know, wrap it and put it in a container like we have here that are these aluminum baking dishes, and just put aluminum over it and, you know, freeze it for probably 3 to 6 months at most. And then you just go ahead and when you need it, take it out, and you can either put it directly into the oven at 350 degrees for about an hour and 45 minutes from frozen, or you can thaw it. Hi, Nog, welcome in. um, you can thaw it in the refrigerator or on your counter, and then it just needs being cold to be put in the oven for 45 minutes. When you're making it fresh, 20 minutes. Um, anyway, I am making this with turkey sausage because I can't eat pork. Feel free to make this with your standard pork sausage. You can make it with any kind of sausage, really. If you have venison, make it with venison sausage. You can make it with chicken sausage, um, anything like that you can make it. Put a little bit of oil in the bottom, unless you're using pork. The leaner meats, you will want to put oil in the bottom and get your sausage cooking. Don't get it really finely crumbled. You want to have some larger pieces in it. Hey Tom, welcome in. It's okay. I've just barely started. I've announced what I'm making, that I'm making breakfast for dinner, 2 dishes. One of them is more or less my invention. I decided to make biscuits and gravy in lasagna form so that instead of having all the carbs from the biscuits, I could have it with lasagna noodles, which has much less. And um, you have the options of going gluten-free with that by getting gluten-free noodles, or you can even get the noodles that are made with protein like chickpea flour. So yes, it's in lasagna form. I'm not just making regular sausage and biscuits and gravy. I am making a breakfast lasagna, which is um, sausage gravy and scrambled eggs and lots of cheese. Oh, lots and lots of cheese. So this is using a lot of mozzarella. It's also using cottage cheese. I prefer cottage cheese over ricotta or ricotta because um, that doesn't melt, and cottage cheese does. Um, so I like how that blends better with the lasagna. It just all blends into the cheese and the ooey gooey, and that's where lasagna really excels. And so even as a child, when my mother used to make lasagnas, and she made a pretty good lasagna, but she used ricotta, and it was always kind of grainy to my tongue. So this is a very high protein um, um, high protein meal. It's not exactly low in calories because you have got the sausage gravy, so that uses a lot of milk. And it has a lot of cheese in it. So as long as you're not lactose intolerant, we're all good here. Um, you want to keep these pieces a little bit larger. You don't want it to have a really fine ground um, gravy. Um, Andrew actually makes a really good um, lasagna. He made it in the first year of our marriage. Um, he's actually what gave me his recipe was actually what gave me the idea of making a tomato cream sauce because he combines a bechamel sauce in layers with a tomato sauce in his lasagna, and it's unique and very, very tasty. He's only made it once, unfortunately, but it is fabulous. And the things that Andrew does cook on his own, he's pretty good at. Um, I kind of goof him up with my cooking, but fortunately, I'd been working on the family cookbook, which is mostly my recipes, for upwards of 15 years when we first got married. So when he needed to cook something like a white sauce, I could just give him my recipe for the white sauce and he would then take and make it. And because I don't do it to color because he's colorblind, um, I time things in minutes. So I tell you to cook the roux for a white sauce um, until it turns a soft golden color, about 5 to 8 minutes. So it's not a weakness, honey. It's a interesting fact, and I believe Nog is colorblind too. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think he is. Um, we have discussed that there are some colorblind gamers in the long dark community, and I think Nog was one of them. Um, An interesting fact about color blindness is that it is far, far, far more common for a man to be colorblind than a woman. The woman will carry the gene, but it's very rare for a woman to be colorblind. So, yet another little interesting fun thing that the guys get to have that we don't. So, do you? Who's that, honey? Yeah, I've taken color tests as well. And it turns out something that it was actually recommended that I take a color test by a gem lab I was working with at a time. I was making my cousin's wedding jewelry, and I color matched her diamonds um, in their gem lab, and they were fairly impressed that I color matched them across the board without a formal GIA education. And it turns out after taking the color test that I actually have perfect color um, receptors in my eyes, so I can sort all of the shades that they have from one end to the other of the spectrum and not get any wrong. So that's kind of interesting. It does explain why I'm particularly good at doing color matching and why it bugs me to just take multi-stoned jewelry from jewelry stores, um, because even across a diamond wedding set, they generally do not color match the stones all the way across. If you have a large stone, that'll be the one that's the highest quality, and then the melee stones, the small stones, they will actually have a color range of about 3 different colors. And a lot of people can't tell the difference in shade, but it's plain as day to my eyes. So it bugs me, and I made sure actually in my cousin's wedding set that all of her stones were the same color. And not only the same color, but they all had the same color flash, so the secondary colors they had were all matched as well. So she has a really pretty wedding set. So you're a red-green colorblind like my husband is then, Nog, right? I do like art, Tom. It's one of my many hobbies. I draw, I do paintings, I sculpt. Um, it's always been something I liked doing was coloring, and uh, I'm very artistically minded. So that runs in our family. I am nowhere near as good of an artist as my oldest brother is, but he doesn't really do anything with art anymore. Um, he stopped that when he had to get a real job, basically, and support himself, and first became a cable installer and then became a police officer. Yeah, that's what Andrew has is red green. So, as far as he's concerned, the color purple doesn't exist because he can't see it. It's just a different shade of blue to him, which I find is pretty interesting. But it does make it so it's harder for him to cook because he can't see when the pink is cooked out of, say, like this sausage. He wouldn't be able to tell. And that is one of the things that you need to make sure of with this is that you have all of the pink cooked out of your sausage before you make the sauce, because especially if you're using pork, you want to make sure it's very well um, cooked. I know trichinosis is not as common today as it was when my parents were growing up, so they always would cook the living tar out of pork, but it still happens. So, especially if you're getting pork from a butcher that raises their own livestock, or from local livestock rather than from a grocery store where it goes through a fairly rigorous inspection process. That's why in some cases you hear chefs saying, "Oh yeah, I cook pork to medium," and anyone above a certain age will shudder because all they think of is the dangers that they grew up with, where you always cooked pork just the living tar out of it. So your pork wasn't browned, your pork was gray. So uh, this is this is turkey sausage, Tom. Because I can't eat pork, I am making my sausage gravy with turkey sausage. And it does have a different consistency than pork sausage because it's very lean meat, and that does make a difference. If you were to make this with pork, you'd have a more granular um, texture to it, and you would definitely not have to add oil to the bottom of this like I did in order to cook it. So this is going to make about 6 to 8 cups of gravy, which is what we will need to have in order to put the lasagna together. And really the only thing that you're cooking in this to make it is the sausage gravy, which comes together rather quickly. I need to now move some things out of the way. Oh yes, and the scrambled eggs. So the eggs are also something that I need to cook. So I will start with this and, oh dear, try to find a place for it. It's going to go on the arm of a chair. Okay, So, and I'm going to ask my husband now if he has actually got the oven preheating. And if he goes and darts for the kitchen, I'll know that he did not yet. All right, so first of all, you need to take and remove the meat from the, basically the sausage drippings and oil. And this is what's going to give you all the flavor in your gravy. It is right at the top of the list, preheat oven, honey. $3.50. And I have Mrs. Nagatron in as well. Hello, Mrs. Nagatron. Is Mrs. Maverick watching today too, Tom? So I am just removing the now cooked sausage. And as I said, it is cooked until all of the pink is gone. And I probably added about a quarter cup of oil to this before I cooked it, because the sausage gravy is not a standard white gravy. It is made with the pan drippings. So I have got artificial pan drippings here. The sausage has flavored it as I throw that on the top of the table. And boy, is that hot. Okay, now I need to get the flour and move things around because I've really got a lot of ingredients on a very small table. Okay, so I have got my whisk, which is my plastic coated whisk, because you never ever ever want to use a plain metal whisk in a non-stick container. And we are going to start with a cup of flour, which I am going to add to this. And we'll see if I need that more before I make my second dish while the lasagna is cooking in the refrigerator or in the oven. All right. So once again, I am not keeping this at a high temperature. This is only cooking at a medium high at the most, because when you're cooking any kind of milk, you don't want to boil it. Scalding milk is called for in some recipes, but not in something that has a, you want to have a nice smooth gravy in the end. And I may actually not have enough liquid in here for my flour. I don't. So I'm going to add, that's fine. If it happens, it happens. You just want to make sure. Nagatron redeemed Pink Pig. Give me a second. I am adding probably another 3 ounces of flour to this. And then Pink Pig will come out to play. So here we have her. Without further ado, Pink Pig! Hello, Pink Pig! It's Pink Pig! She's dancing back and forth because she is excited about breakfast for dinner. Yay! Pink Pig! Pink Pig! Okay, so I am going to whisk this up. You do not want to have it look like you're trying to make cookie dough. So we have to make sure that we get enough flour. Sauce. How it's pronounced out here by the people who don't know how it's pronounced in England is Worcestershire or Worcestershire, depending on whether or not they're giving it a look at how it's actually spelled or not. So I still need a little bit more oil. Now, when my grandmother used to make gravy like this, which was based on the pan dripping, she always used corn oil. And she always, but always, whisked the crap out of it before she put anything else in it, and would cook it so that the flour was cooked, and that is what we need to do here. And this is a much thicker gravy start than I have shown you guys in the past. Probably should have only used about 2/3 of a cup of flour in this case. I will amend the recipe. Yep, you have to get the raw flour taste out of it. And you don't want to have so much oil in it that the oil floats all over the top, but with enough flour it doesn't do that. The flour absorbs the oil cooks the flour. It's a nice little happy family in what you're doing. That's better. As you can see, it's still pretty thick, but it has a certain level of liquidity to the flour. The roux, actually, at this point, what it is called is a roux. And this is something that we will be adding milk to make the sausage gravy, along with additional seasonings like salt and pepper, which I am looking for. And there they are on the other side of our giant stack of eggs. Okay, so we're going to let this cook for probably another 4 minutes. And as I said, this is not on a high heat. And what I will be doing is pouring this over the sausage when I get the gravy done, because the sausage gravy then needs to cool a bit before... Oh, he's gonna kill me. I need a scoop. Okay, so I'm gonna let that continue to work there. I am going to break up the meat a bit more. I need like a spoon scoop, honey. I need a spoon, basically a big spoon. One of the big plastic ones. Sorry, when I was getting him his list of things that I needed to get, a spoon was not in it. So he will make it happen because he is awesome. I do want to thank everybody that has shown up. I have a nice little turnout here to make it. He's not fired, I'm fired. It's my fault. Thank you. That'll be fun. Okay. So I have got this continuing to cook for a few more minutes. Got another 2 minutes on the timer by my clock. And I am going to start measuring out the milk. Alright. Now I'm using 2% milk on this. Grandma always used 4% because as far as she was concerned, anything less, you're basically having skim milk. I have to admit, for making sauces, 4% is superior, but I hate drinking it. Okay, let me see. So I'll put the milk there. Wait another minute. Okay. as I've mentioned before, I'm using my Farberware hot plate, which has 2 plates in it that are made of solid cast iron, and I highly recommend using, if you're going to use a hot plate, if you're going to use it for whatever reason, definitely use the ones with the cast iron plate, because unlike the coil version where you have little hot patches and cold patches with the coil, the cast iron heats evenly. Do I like whole milk? No, I do not. I can't stand drinking it. I like it just fine for cooking. I do not like to drink it. I actually consider the 2% to be a concession to my husband, who prefers whole milk, whereas I was always drinking 1%. I didn't drink skim, but I did drink 1% just because the mouthfeel of the whole milk and the 2% for a lot of years was just more than I found pleasant. It was just too thick. I felt like I was drinking cream, and that was not anything that I really enjoyed doing. So now I need to whisk this like mad, because this is starting out a lot lumpier than what I am used to, because there was so much solid flour basically in this. It was not as liquid of a uh, start as some. It'll all come out in the end and it won't be lumpy then, but for now it's still got a little bit of flour lumps in it, and I need to mop up some spilled milk, which of course we will not cry over. And I have got another bunch of milk. Honey, it smells like something's burning. Do we have something in the oven? Or on the oven? I know, I'm sorry, honey. Okay, now I've got all 6, I actually put 7 cups of milk in here, just so if I might have a little extra gravy, that never hurt anybody. And whisking it steadily as I did, it doesn't have any lumps anymore. All of the little bits are done. There are some little solid bits in this, but they are sausage bits that have been scraped up and incorporated. We always got really nice milk when I was growing up as well. We got it from a dairy that was about 5 miles away from where we lived, and it was called Mueller's Dairy, and they were in Redmond, and wonderful milk products, butter, cheese, the whole 9 yards. And shortly after I graduated from high school, they sold their milk processing to another.
Do not touch.
Ooh, eesh. Yeah, that would be why it smelled like hot metal.
Yes.
We found a knife, one of my nice butter knives, in the oven area. Apparently, not so nice anymore. No. Anyway, so we've got my sauce for the The sausage gravy coming up here and starting to thicken. I am at this point going to put some of the parsley in it. And it calls for a tablespoon of parsley. This is one of the few times when you will not see me adding sage to a recipe because the sausage is already seasoned. And this is about a tablespoon and a half of parsley. And I am done with that now. And it takes a few minutes for the gravy to turn into gravy, the white sauce to come up basically. And it is already starting. And you basically need to keep stirring the bottom the whole time because the sauce starts building itself on the bottom. That's where it thickens against the heat. Yeah, that's interesting. It's not something that I would think of. I can only think that one of my parents possibly decided to do something in the oven with it. Um, They both have memory issues and cognition difficulties now, and so sometimes their thinking is a little challenged. And I have got not even a cup of milk left, but that's fine. We've got more gallons in case I need it. And basically what I wanted was a drink of milk. Okay, so you don't leave your cream gravy alone ever because, like I said, it starts thickening on the bottom of the pan and you need to continue stirring it so that you don't end up with a thin layer on top and pudding and burned bits on the bottom. Yes, we have 4 gallons because we were down to 1 gallon and I ordered a gallon and meant to order 2 because we like to keep 2 gallons in the house at all times. And Andrew went out to go to the grocery store and he got milk, and then I ordered 2 more gallons in. So fortunately I've been making things that are very milk heavy lately, so that's always to the good. This is not coming up very fast because the milk was still rather cold. I normally like to warm the milk in the microwave, not so it's hot, not so it's even steaming, just kind of a lukewarm temperature because it mixes better with the roux and has less of a tendency to, if you add cold water to a, um, if you add cold milk to a hot roux, it basically hits it and the roux kind of shocks and it forms clumps immediately. It's like it tries to make little dumplings, sometimes rather big dumplings. And if you use warm milk, it doesn't do that because the temperatures are similar. So you can mix them together more easily. And yeah, milk isn't really terribly expensive here. I haven't actually noticed its price go up. Um, yeah, clumpy roux, not good. Any kind of clumpy gravy, not good. You can get rid of it with a stick blender, but you have to do it soon, otherwise your gravy is not going to come out right, whatever your sauce is. So this is starting to mix in, and part of what you can tell is that the parsley is no longer just floating on top. It's starting to incorporate into the white sauce. Oh, it was under 2 where you were. Well, I guess I can vaguely recall a gallon of milk being like 1.99, but I think that was about as cheap as it got here. Um, I live in an area where the cost of living is higher, so um, I know I about gagged when a loaf of bread went over $4, though. Uh, Prices do get different. And yes, I am wearing my favorite winter sweater again, pullover style, and it has little reindeer and snowflakes on it. So when the weather is less cool and we took another plummet in our temperature. No, it's just parsley, kind Al. You can add thyme to it if you wish. The sausage is already pre-seasoned. It has thyme and sage and rosemary in it, so it's already pretty well seasoned. So I just added the parsley to the I just added the parsley to the gravy because it's pretty and I like adding parsley to it because, among other things, parsley adds iron. Ouch, Mrs. Nog. You have mentioned in the past that you do like to make a lot of puns, so I will try not to have you timed out for puns, but I can't promise anything if they're heinous. So this is going into the sausage gravy that I wonder why this is my burner even working? No, it's not. That's why. Deal with this. That's why it was not thickening anymore. I turned it down too much and it got below low. Okay, little technical difficulty there. No, I don't think we've ever timed anybody out in my channel. And the only things that we have banned have been bots so far. Fortunately, a, uh, I have not had bad viewers so far. I haven't attracted any trolls. For that, I am highly grateful. I do know that they happen, and I don't want them here. So, he's a troll, but he's having to behave because he's a mod. So, anyway, this is going to, now that I've got the heat back appropriate temperature for it, this will make the gravy. And then I will put that aside to let it cool while I work on scrambling eggs. And that will be a fun and apparently I'm muffling sound with my hand. Well, if you want to eat, you better be on good behavior. Thank you for showing up as well, Kind Al. I appreciate your viewership. I appreciate all of my viewers. I was really wondering why this wasn't thickening. It thickened to a certain point and then just stopped. Now it will behave as it should. Um, so I need to then scramble the eggs and put them in another little container and let me think. Yep, then I can start assembling the lasagna. So, um, you mod for me, you mod for Connor. Honey, can we have a shout out for Nagatron because he is a viewer and a streamer viewer at that. He streams The Long Dark in some fascinating series of what he calls sciencing. And he basically tries to explain why and test scientifically why the game does what it does, how to get around some bugs. Um, it's basically entertaining viewing. We have Maverick 2, and he is a friend of mine. I've modded for him for about a year. He streams on and off. I would call him a variety streamer. And uh, he's a good game player. He has played The Long Dark, so he actually is the one that got me into The Long Dark. He started playing it, and I was so interested that I couldn't stand it and had to play it myself. And I actually found him as one of his first viewers when he was streaming the survival game Stranded Deep. And I couldn't help it. I started heckling him. So I guess what he did is he found himself a troll, and I became his mod. So that was good time had for all. Although not the people I banned. Oh dear. That would be a naughty thing to do, honey. And though he could pronounce it for you, he won't get on the mic. So I don't know why. He has a perfectly good mic in there, which I do not have. I have fired and banned a few, yes. And a good time was had by all in that case. Doing what a mod is supposed to do, which is basically keeping the channel free for the viewers so that they are not harassed and that the mod isn't harassed. He laughs when he bans them, by the way. I'll have you know, I hear this wicked little chuckle from the office. So we are in a separate room. He has his office and I've got the living room. So come on now, behave yourself and thicken up. I've been stirring this a long time. Yeah, basically I've found a really lovely community in the Long Dark community, and some of the people I have found outside of it. People are just really friendly and welcoming there, and that's just a really nice thing to find. Okay. This is finally starting to behave. Sorry about that. This is taking longer than it should. It does not normally take this long to make a white sauce. Does anybody have any requests for things they would like to see me make in the future? This is just one of the lasagnas that I make. I make a standard red lasagna, which has eggplant and mushrooms and all kinds of vegetables in it, in addition to meat. And I also make a white chicken lasagna, which has a mushroom cream sauce in it. Lots of chickens. Yeah, Andrew doesn't like biscuits. I don't know why he doesn't like biscuits, but he just doesn't. He likes bread. He likes roll. He just doesn't like the texture of biscuits. He doesn't even like English muffins. So I'm not sure what's up with that. He'll eat toast. He'll even eat toast with eggs on it, as you saw before, but um, ground when I turned the temperature down on this. I didn't want to burn anything, so instead I turned it down so low it didn't heat anything. But I can feel it building now against the whisk, so that's good. Now I am going to be making my scrambled eggs in the same pan. I do know things about sous vide. It is basically a low and slow cooking method where you take the food and you will season it and, you know, like put it in a marinade or whatever, and then you vacuum seal it, and you have basically a basin of water and a water heater that has a temperature gauge on it, and you set the temperature you want to be the water, do you want to have the water be, and then you dump your food in its little plastic packet in it, and you cook it for, you know, quite a while in its marinade or whatever. And like I said, it is a low and slow. Do I have any omelet tips? Yes, bake them. Instead of making the turn style, I like to have them basically open face, where I get a baking dish, I whisk the eggs up and put them in a sprayed baking dish, and then I put all of the omelet contents on it or in it, and then bake it in the oven for half an hour to 45 minutes, depending on how many eggs you're cooking, and then bring it out and finish putting the toppings on it and cut slabs and eat it. As far as omelet tips, let your eggs be room temperature. They'll be fluffier. You can also put a little bit of flour in it, anywhere between a teaspoon to a tablespoon, again depending on how many eggs you're making, and you whisk the flour into it. You always add milk to your eggs because it just improves the flavor and improves the moisture of the eggs. And make sure that you use butter or um, cooking spray in your pan. Always use non-stick. And you want to, you know what? I will do a standard omelet stream um, in the future here, so that I can show you how to make them. And there is a technique to getting them so that they are cooked on one side and not burned, and you have your ingredients and you make yourself a nice little flip, and you have your standard rolled or folded in half taco shape omelets. Um, they do require a bit more fussing, a bit more technique than the baked omelets, but yeah, if you're going to be making an omelet for one, like a 3-egg omelet, you probably want to add about an ounce of milk to it. So 3 large or jumbo eggs and about an ounce, between a tablespoon and an ounce of milk, just a little splash of milk to it when you whisk them up, and it will help your eggs have a creamier taste to it. I find when the eggs do not have milk in them, either scrambled or omelets, uh, they have a strange taste to me, because my mother always put milk in our eggs. I never knew that until after she went into a coma and came out and wasn't able to cook anymore. And I cooked very bad eggs for a year and never knew what was wrong with them, because I had never seen her put the milk in the eggs. And she ate them for a year that way, and I finally blew my temper with my eggs because they tasted like little rubber balls. And I said, I don't get it. I am not overcooking the eggs. Why don't they taste right? And Mom said, did you put milk in them? And I said, what? um, find out, I have a recipe for a mushroom cheeseburger omelet in my Discord, and uh, you can use the recipe there. You can put anything you want in it: mushrooms, bacon, cheese. Just make it very simply. Pile as much as you want into it, and you'll have the recipe there. If you use the baking dish that we do, which is about an 11 by 11, and cook a dozen eggs for 4 people, that's 3 egg omelets for each. You can then cut it into 4 slabs, which come out the same size as a piece of toast. And you can actually cut it out into slabs, and your leftovers can be eaten like a sandwich. So that's that's a particularly lovely way to do a baked omelet. And if you have any leftovers, you can make yourself basically an omelet sandwich. So, yeah, but Mom did pull that where she didn't tell anybody. And when we asked her, why didn't you mention it? She says, you didn't ask. Can we pop the Discord up there so if Kindal doesn't have the link yet, he can find it, and anybody who might be lurking and hasn't joined my Discord can join it to get the recipes that I cook on stream and enjoy the pictures that I have of them all. Everything I've cooked on stream is up. Apparently no. Huh. Okay. You may have to actually manually link it. I am going to take a moment here and get something to drink because my mouth is getting dry from all the yapping. Okay. All right. This is getting close. What you're looking for in this is to have your sauce be thick enough to thickly coat the back of a spoon. You want it to be the same consistency as thin yogurt, so that when you take and put a spoon into it for demonstration purposes, when you dunk a spoon into it and bring it back up, you can see that the spoon is actually somewhat coated with the milk, with the sauce. But when you turn it over and look at it, it pretty much drains away very quickly. And although it does coat the back of a spoon, you can see that I can draw a line in it. The coating is not a thick coating yet. It's actually quite thin. You want this to be the consistency of, like I said, thin yogurt, or a basically a chowder, the cream base in a chowder, where it's a nice lovely thickness. You want it to be velvety smooth and thick. So it's starting to get there. It takes a little bit longer because I let it get too cool, so it had to start from scratch basically. And I am, however, going to taste that and make sure it's seasoned right. So I'll take one of my other spoons. Needs a little bit of salt. So I am going to add probably a quarter of a spoonful of salt in here, a quarter of a teaspoon. And I'm going to go kind of easy on the salt on this, both from habit and also from the fact that this is using a lot of cheese, and cheese is a very salt-laden product. The The garbanzo and avocado sandwich is really nice. Use fresh lime juice in it that you squeeze out of the lime, or use fresh lemon juice. It gives it a nice brightness. Make sure that you add salt and pepper to it, and then it's just a matter of really good bread. You want to get yourself a nice bread that's heartier to stand up to the texture of the mashed avocados and garbanzo beans. And I usually combine it with something like a Swiss or Havarti cheese. Um, the Havarti cheese is especially nice, and I usually put lettuce and tomato on it as well for a vegetarian sandwich. And that is just a lovely sandwich to have. Very high in protein, very high in beneficial um, uh, beneficial oils too from the avocado. So this is almost the right thickness now. You can see that the parsley has basically combined itself with the sauce. And I am going to test it again. Much thicker. This is what we want it to be. It is a good consistency for the sauce. Maybe I didn't illustrate that. So when you pick it up, it's a nice creamy whiteness. You flip it over and it maintains a thicker presence on the back of the spoon. And that is what you call a finished cream sauce. So I'm going to take and I'm going to use the measuring cup to get it out of here. I have turned the heat off on that burner. I am going to transfer it closer to where it needs to go. And this will now combine on top of my cooked sausage. Really wish I'd gotten one of the pans that had what they call an assist handle on the other side of it, so that you're not picking it up just by one side. What you are doing is actually picking it up by a handle plus a secondary handle on the other side. Now, oh, look at that, I did it again. My gravy now completely fills the container that is going to end up being a lasagna. All right, honey, can I have you take this thing away and give it a rinse out in the sink? Now, for those of you that enjoy pepper, a sausage gravy is supposed to be actually a pepper-laden white sauce. My husband hates pepper, so I don't ever do that. I am going to start, while he is doing that, to crack my eggs. And this is calling for 18 eggs. You can put more in if you like more eggs, but this is basically one grocery store version of... I know I took the top off of this. My husband is diabolically clever and has managed to put the top back on. Okay, I am going to get out and start cracking. Huh? the eggs. Oh crap, I did not want to do that. I need to take a moment and get some egg goo off my cell phone because I really don't want that to dry there. Thank you. Alright, I'll put that out of harm's way and continue. That's one egg. That's 2 eggs. I think this is actually going to end up taking most of the top level, so I'm just going to remove the entire top level here. There we have 3. 4 little eggs. Ah, 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 ah. And for those of you that grew up with the count, you will recognize that. And I've got a little bit of shell, which I will now go fetch. And the easiest way to get shell out of a bunch of eggs is to use the tip of a finger, and you basically pin it against the bottom of the bowl and then pull it out against the side. So that's 5 eggs, 6 eggs, 7 eggs, 8 eggs, 9 eggs, 2 little bits of eggs so far. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10. 11. Woo! 12. 13 eggs, called a baker's dozen. I'm not really sure why, but 13 of anything is called a baker's dozen. Here's 14. 15. 16. 17. And there is 18 eggs. Okay, I've got to get all those eggs off my hands because it bugs me. All right. So I've got 18 eggs here, and I have got probably a third of a cup of milk here that I am adding to it. And I take my whisk and I start popping the little egg yolks here. And there is an art to doing this without having it so that it ends up with eggs flying everywhere. And I'm pretty sure Mrs. Nog probably has the art of it down. For some reason, my husband's version of whisking eggs, although he does it very well, usually ends up with eggs all over the kitchen like a little bird bath. So I encourage his using the power tool to do it. And you do definitely end up with very well scrambled eggs when you do that. They end up nice and smooth, and it makes a lovely noise when it does it. So I need to get these eggs finished whisking. And it is a bit of a trick to get this many eggs whisked smoothly. Okay. Alright. So now I am going to take my spray oil. And once again, I like to use canola because it really doesn't add much flavor to the item that you're cooking. And I make sure I have everything all nicely covered because it just does not do to not have it that way. And cooking the eggs for scrambled eggs is not a high heat operation. It is a medium to medium high at most. You do not want to have it so that what you've got is a very hot skillet, because you will burn your eggs. So I have increased the heat again to a little bit over medium, and I am now going to pour the eggs in. Okay. And I will be using this bowl again later on to make the Panicaku, which is the Dutch baked pancake that is going to be being put together while the lasagna cooks in the oven. All right, so you have your scrambled eggs, and in this case, because I hand scrambled them, they are not completely smooth. They do have some larger white areas in here that will cook out. And what you want to do is give them an opportunity to start cooking, basically. They will do most of the cooking on their own, and you want to go somewhere between... Oh, look at that. Andrew actually looked it up. A baker's dozen is because in 13th century England, bakers cheated with the size of baked goods, so by using 13, they removed any margin of error and avoided getting beaten up by the king's people and thrown in jail. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, you want to let the eggs do most of the cooking on their own. You want them to go from where they start, they still look wet, to just barely not wet. You knew that? It's part of history. Okay. Well, if I knew that, I forgot. Okay. So I have got one 13 by 9 pan filled with sausage gravy. I may be ending up making more than one lasagna, or I'll just have a lot of extra gravy left over. That wouldn't be bad. I could then very easily make some scrambled or poached eggs and put the sausage gravy over it for a yummy little snack. Unlike where you're doing an omelet, you do want to keep stirring around the scrambled eggs because you want them to actually form clumps. In an omelet, you would want to leave it alone. You would pull it back and forth a little bit when it first starts cooking, and then you just leave it be, because the idea is that it will move when you move it. It wants to stay in one piece versus the uh, scrambled eggs, which kind of need to be a mass of clumps. Not the prettiest word for it, but it is what it is. Careful, honey, I'm over 50 years of age now. I am not part of dinosaur history. This is another one of those things that you would want to cook low and slow. You don't want to fast cook scrambled eggs, because then what you get are burned eggs. So it does take a little bit of patience here. In theory, it's not difficult to do. You make scrambled eggs, you make a sausage gravy, and then you assemble your lasagna. And the trouble that you go to do this is going to be more than repaid in the fact that you're going to get a lot of food out of it, and it's going to be absolutely delicious. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm doing that today. Okay, I need to leave that alone and let the eggs actually cook. I'm actually preventing them from making the clumps that we need. So there's your secret to good scrambled eggs. Good clumps. All right. So, I could actually start putting this together. I would just have to stop when it came to the part where I put the eggs in. So the first thing you need to do is take some of your sausage gravy, and you need to put a layer of that down, because otherwise your noodles are going to stick to the bottom of your pan, and you don't want that. So I'm putting a very thin layer of this over the bottom of the pan, and it just has a little bit of meat in it, but it's mostly just the sauce. And it is probably not even a quarter of an inch thick. Then I have my cooked noodles, and they were cooked al dente. And you lay them in here on top of this lovely container now. And they will go about 3 across. So you really only need about 9 noodles if you're doing a triple thickness. We'll see. Sometimes it only makes a double thickness depending on how much ingredients I put in it. So you put 3 noodles down, and that pretty much covers the bottom of the pan, as you can see, kind of loosely. I will now go back here and move the eggs around, and as you can see, the eggs are actually starting to form a nice little covering here. So I want to go through and loosen all of the eggs up that are on the bottom so they don't burn. You don't want them sticking anywhere. So you go through in kind of a serpentine motion, and you can see I'm starting to come up with egg clumps. You do that, make sure you scrape down the sides as well. That's why you make these scrambled eggs with a spatula or a spoonchula like this. The next thing you want to put in a layer is the cottage cheese. Now, I have a feeling this has already been opened. Yep, it has been. Okay. My father really likes cottage cheese, so I'm honestly surprised he didn't eat more. You want to paste down a line of cottage cheese on each row here. And this is basically the same method that I was used for making a red lasagna, except in this case, the gravy that I put on it is not red, it's white. So, all right. So we're done with that layer now. I'm going back to my scrambled eggs and re-scrambling the bottom. And they're starting to smell like nice creamy scrambled eggs. And no, I am not adding salt to the eggs at this point yet, although I will lightly salt them shortly. And because this isn't something that's going to get mixed in, you do need to, well, not to above a certain point. You want to just lightly salt the surface of your scrambled eggs. And then, as you can see, they're getting considerably thicker. You can see that sometimes when I'm pulling through there, you're actually seeing the bottom. The eggs at this point are about half solid. You don't want to have them have anything that looks like soup, no soupy looking eggs, but you do want to have them stop cooking as soon as you can after you get to the point where you have no more soupy looking eggs. Otherwise you're going to dry them out and they'll just be yucky at that point. Are you asleep on your keyboard, Connor? Welcome in, Connor. It is very early in the morning for you, I know. Thank you for coming. You're probably at the end of your day since tomorrow is your day off. That is my friend Connor. He is the only deaf guy. He has a cafe in Cheltenham, England.
Pig pig.
And he had a very busy day today. And he apparently is wearing Chinese finger traps, so he can't type. I'm not sure what's up with that. Not sure really what to do with what he's typing, but hello there, Connor. Thank you for joining us. As you see, I am making the scrambled eggs part of the lasagna you thought sounded like it was so good. It is interesting. I rather suspect either he's sleep typing or he's possibly in after an intensive night of partying. Believe it or not, the eggs are actually almost done. You can see that they still have some liquid in them, but they're almost at the point where they're not going to have it anymore, and at that the point when you want to pull it off. Probably. Connor, honey, just go back to bed. Thank you for joining us, but you're not making a lick of sense. Hunter usually drinks fruit ciders, hard ciders, so it could have well been a lot of ciders. Uh, he had a very busy day today. They were having the Cheltenham horse races going on, and they were just inundated by breakfast orders. Okay, this is almost to what I would consider to be done. They are very glossy, they are very moist appearing, but they don't have any actual liquid anymore. So that is at the point where your eggs are considered done. Because if you let them go any longer, they're going to cook for a little while after you take them off, because that's just the way cooking works. So I am going to take and now lay in half of the eggs in kind of a loose layer here. Can you get me the other cottage cheese, honey? It's not a full container. And I don't really like shorting my eggs and cheese. Thank you, sweetheart. And I'm done with the eggs if you want to take them away. Okay, so at this point now, you want to add a layer of cheese. No, you want to add a layer of the gravy. So I'm now going to come in and add about a third of the gravy over the top of the eggs. Hey, Geek Boy, welcome in. Nice to see you at a evening time instead of late evening. Okay, so then you put the sausage gravy in over the eggs in first layer. You did? Yeah. I kind of expected that. Oh, that's not any good anymore. Okay. Always check your ingredients before you use them, because you may end up finding out that your cheese in the refrigerator got moist and then decided to mold. So don't just go plunging the hand in. So I'm going to take and add a nice layer of cheese to this. And we're going to only be going 2 layers deep because I am very prolific with my stuffing. So you add a nice thick layer of cheese here. And now we add another level of the lasagna noodles. And it looks like actually I can get more than 3 here, because as the baking dish goes out, it gets broader. So I am going to take my knife and lightly cut this in half. And then add that noodle to it. Then I will take my cottage cheese Yeah, that should be pretty entertaining. Rich and Connor should get a kick out of it. All right. Wish I knew where my actual lasagna dish was because it's bigger than this. But then we'd have to wash it. This we can just take and bundle up and toss away. So as you can see, you add a nice thick layer of this cheese and it will go together with all of the other cheese and make this just a creamy, gooey bit of loveliness. And this is a 24-ounce container of cottage cheese, so it's very easily used up in this. Actually going to add some extra cottage cheese to it because I am not happy with the coverage. Okay, now we've got that in there. We will now take and put that aside and add in the rest of my eggs. So it goes about 9 eggs per level. And honey, when you put this in the oven, you will want to put a cookie sheet underneath it in case we have any overage. And you want to make sure you cover this nice and evenly. I would say for most things this would be 8 to 10. If you're feeding children, obviously less than that. Or pardon me, more than that. Your servings will go further if you're feeding children. So for your family, this would probably be a good solid 2 dinners and a lunch. Many. Many is a very good answer. Now we want to take and add in more of my gravy over the top. Lots of meat bits, lots of creamy gravy. And the last layer on this will be a layer of mozzarella, then into the oven at 350 degrees it will go. Okay. The last bit on this is going to be another layer of mozzarella. You could finish it with Colby Jack if you prefer. The mozzarella combines very nicely and doesn't add a lot of extra flavor to it. You can add cheddar if you want to. And this is going to be a sizable lasagna. And all right, do you have a baking tray for it? You're gonna need a bigger one than that probably. Oh, okay. All right, so I've got lots of cheese over the top of this. All right. I love cheese. There really isn't any such thing as too much cheese as far as we're concerned with lasagna. So this has probably used a good 16 ounces of cheese in these 2 layers. I would have used the entire 32 ounces if it had gone 3 layers. That's what we're looking for. That's the stuff. Okay, I'm going to lift this up and, whoa, put it on the baking tray for you. And that's going to go in the oven for 20 minutes. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is make the Panicaku, or the Panicaku, which is basically a Dutch pancake. We are done with the cooking thing, and now we are going to be just down to the mixing thing. So I will take and do a quick little cleanup here where I've got a little bit of sloppiness because I'm me. And out comes the egg container here, which is what I am going to mix the batter in. Now, as I said earlier, for those of you who were not here, this is a Dutch pancake my family makes, and I cannot reach the cinnamon, which needs to go in this. Hold on, let me see if I can get it to come to me if I use a crutch. What I need is a dog to fetch spices for me. I don't think they'd be willing to do it. That. So that went into the oven, for those of you keeping track, 350 degrees for 20 minutes until the cheese is melted, a little toasty on top and bubbly. Now, if you want to take this away too right now, that would be great. Okay, so I have got the ingredients I need for this. And I am going to be making it without milk for my mother so that she can have some. And this is actually a very low sugar thing. It only uses a few tablespoons of sugar throughout the whole thing. I need to switch to my recipe here. And we will take 3, oh crap. Honey, I need 3 eggs. That was stupid of me. All right. And yeah, I know, I'm sorry. You need to first mix in a bowl the eggs, and then you add in milk, salt, sugar, and vanilla, and then you stir in the flour. So I am going to get started on what I can here. This is using a teaspoon of vanilla. Vanilla is a lovely spice. It is something, as a matter of fact, that is sweet, and it adds a natural sweetness to anything you put it in. And now I have 3 eggs, thanks to my husband. So I have got a teaspoon of vanilla, which I'm going to add in here. And it is going to use 3 teaspoons of sugar. Like I said, this uses a tablespoon of sugar in the whole recipe here. That's not a lot. This is something that your children should enjoy because it's slightly sweet, and it's traditionally served with either a cinnamon and sugar topping or a warm fruit compote. They traditionally serve it in the Netherlands with, they will use treacle or syrup or an apple butter. Other fruit butters like peach butter would be good on it as well. And it's not quite what they would call a Dutch baby. It is somewhere between a quiche and a pancake. Has a little bit of natural lift, but not a lot. And it's really easy to put together if your eggs cooperate. Okay, so I've got the eggs in here now, and I'm gonna whisk the eggs. And I've got the vanilla and the sugar in here. And it calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I am not going to put anywhere near that much in here because Mom needs to watch her sodium very closely. And that means I need to watch her sodium very closely. Now I need to add in a cup of milk, and because she is allergic to dairy, I have got oat milk here. La 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 la. And it is a brand new container of oat milk. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to give it a little bit of a shake because you always want to shake your vegetable milks. And measure it out by the 1/2 cup. We need 1 cup of milk. Because right now my cup measurer is occupied with sausage gravy. And this lid is not cooperating with me. Alright, so we take 1/2 cup and 2 1/2 cups. And I will put that aside for the measuring of raisins. It's also going to have golden raisins in it, which is another traditional way to serve it. So I mix the eggs and the milk together now. So now we have all of the wet ingredients in here. I like to actually have the cinnamon through it, so I am going to add a very small amount of cinnamon to it. I will be using a 1/8 of a teaspoon of cinnamon because a little cinnamon goes a long way in this. So I use an 1/8 of a teaspoon. And whisk that until it is reasonably well combined. And now it is time for my flour to come back. And this uses a 1/2 cup of flour. And this will make basically a 9 to 10 inch pie pan full of pancake. So we get a half a cup of flour added to this. It's very easy to make this as a double batch. This will serve 4 to 6 people. They may want seconds. It is a very tasty recipe. And you make it in a pie plate, so you would serve it up like you would serve a pie. And now we combine the batter together until it is smooth. Okay. So you need to actually put a little bit of muscle power into the whisking at this point to get any of the lumps out. All right, and now at this point, I need to find where I put my raisins. There they are. They're on the other side of the noodles. Okay. Now we are going to add in a 1/4 cup of golden raisins because I like them. Pardon me, a 1/2 cup of golden raisins. I'm going to measure them out 1/4 at a time so that I can mix them in easily. You do not want this to be incredibly heavy on the raisins. I'm going to add a little bit more. But if you have children that are particularly fond of raisins, go wild. Okay, I'm going to put that back down. And then mix that around with the batter. And as I said, let's see, I have used the teaspoon. And there we go. Those have not been used. And here is my pie pan. And it's a deep dish pie pan. I am going to take my cooking spray. Let's see. I am going to take my cooking spray and I am going to spray the inside, and you want to spray the bottom. You can also just use butter and butter the bottom. That is a scratch. And make sure you especially get in the corners. And you could also, like I said, you could butter this entire dish instead. And it is what I used to do in the past when the only kind of spray that you had that was an oil was Pam. And I thought that tasted disgusting. So then, Andrew, Dad's sitting there in the doorway. I don't know what he wants. We now will take this and pour it out into the pan. And I will take my spatula. And now take and spread the raisins out across the bottom. And this is ready to go into a 350-degree oven, which we will do when the lasagna comes out. At this point, what you would do is sprinkle a light little bit of sugar across the top. do mean a light little bit. This isn't meant to be a sickly sweet dish. So I am taking 1 teaspoon and gently sprinkling it all the way across. And I used maybe half of it. Now I'm going to take the cinnamon and just very lightly sprinkle that across the top. Just enough to color the top a little bit. Okay, now we have this ready to go. You could also, at this point, the recipe calls for dotting it with butter, but I'm not going to do that because, once again, my mother is lactose not intolerant, she is just flat out allergic. So, I will now start putting some of my bits and odds together so they can be more easily removed. And so this comes together, as you can see, very quickly, and the cooking time on it is at 350 degrees, and it only cooks for 20 minutes. So it takes maybe 5 or 10 minutes to put together. How much time do we have left on lasagna? 4 minutes. Okay, do you want to take the little baking tray to put this on, and we can have it in the oven then as soon as that comes out? All right. So upcoming, like I mentioned, I've got a few more lasagnas that I'll be making. I may make some manicotti, which uses my red sauce. It uses my white sauce if I choose to do that, and it will make a lot of manicotti, which is a good thing. And we will also be visiting spaghetti, and I will possibly also be making chicken fettuccine alfredo. So that is something else to look forward to. This is also, there we go. Alrighty then. So I have got multiple things. We've got 4 minutes left on the lasagna, and then you guys can see the lasagna plated up and tasted. And meanwhile, we will put the Panicaku in the oven as soon as the other comes out, and we will get that served up. And because I don't choose to drizzle it with syrup, I just like it with that light sprinkling of sugar and cinnamon with the raisins. It'll be done then, but you could put either a fruit syrup on it, or you could put maple syrup on it. That tastes good as well. And like I said, you can put fruit butters on it, like an apple butter, or you could take and make a fresh topping for it with some frozen blueberries and a little bit of water and sugar, a touch of cinnamon to that, and bring it to a boil for about 5-10 minutes. Add a little bit of cornstarch and water to it to thicken it slightly, and you can then spoon that over the top of it. Pink pig again. And you could also take and make an apple topping with either some apple pie filling, or you could take and slice a nice gala apple, something like that. One of the nice hard flesh red and green apples. You peel it, slice it into thin slices or chunks, and obviously take the core out, add some cinnamon, some nutmeg, and a touch of salt, some cornstarch to it, some apple juice. Put it in a saucepan on the uh, stove for about 15 minutes if you slice the apples thin. And you want to bring that to a boil and let it cook your apples till they're nice and soft, and you can slide a fork into them very easily. And this can all be done during the length of time that it takes to cook the pancake. And then when it's all nice and warm, you can take and put some spoonfuls of that over the top, and it will be a very tasty fresh fruit and reasonably healthy breakfast. We have got the lasagna coming out of the oven now, and I will put the cutting board down so that we have a nice place for it to go. Okay, and that looks like it is just melted. So for this we are going to take, and I'm going to divide it along a line of about a third, and it wants a knife, so I'm going to get a knife for it. Fortunately, my husband did not listen to me, so we have a knife here. And this cuts through. It's starting to overflow a bit. Like I said, I made this a bit overstuffed. This probably could have done with another 5 minutes to get the top toasted, but that's fine. And I'm going to cut this into 9 pieces. And I'll just leave it like that for now. And take one of our good dishes. Take this nice piece here in the middle. First piece is always the hardest piece to get out. Very definitely so in this case. Did I have a pink pig? Okay. Yes. And this is not going to stay in a nice pretty piece because the lasagna is hot and falling to bits. But the most important thing about a lasagna anyway is always how it tastes. I am going to clean it up somewhat. If we had let it go, increase the temperature and let it get hotter, gone 5 minutes at 400, The cheese on top would have been slightly toasted, which would have been nice. Here is the serving of it. I will put up close to here. And I will try to take a picture to post. You have a fork, honey? Okay. All right. Let's take the fork and put the fork on the plate. Okay, here you go, honey. You can now taste it. Tease the camera with a picture of it. As you can see, because it has the cream gravy, it kind of stayed more liquid than what you would normally have. The sausage is a bit spicy. There's variations in turkey sausage and other sausages. And in this case, the turkey sausage is a little peppery. So I'm glad I didn't add extra pepper for Andrew's sake. And I'm going to take and put a fork in here and get the things minus the noodles to talk about. So I've got the cheese, I've got the sauce, and as you can see, there's a lot of sauce. I've got eggs in here, and it's just lovely with cheese. So here we've got a spoonful. Oh, that is absolutely gorgeous. If you like sausage and sausage gravy over biscuits, you will love this. You've got the scrambled eggs in here that are nice and creamy and soft. You have the cheese melting together and combining with the sausage gravy. And then you have the noodles in there kind of working with it. But it is not quite as heavy a dish as biscuits and gravy. And it is really delicious. I'll post pictures of it. We need to wait about another 15 minutes so that we can serve up the Panicaku or Panicaku, which is as close as I can get to the Dutch pronunciation of P-A-N-N-E-N-K-O-E-K, which is how that is actually spelled. So we will have that second bit, and it has raisins and cinnamon and just a little bit of sugar in it. It has about a teaspoon and a quarter of sugar in the entire batch, not just the serving, but the whole batch. This, by the way, will freeze even in this thing, so that you can put it into individual servings and freeze it to be microwaved at a later date when you need to have your breakfast again and be just as tasty and creamy. No problem, Tom. Are you taking off before you see the reveal on the Dutch pancake? I hope not, because I think your wife might like it. Yeah, one of the things Andrew discovered when he moved here and I introduced him to sausage gravy is that sausage. Oh, she's watching. Okay. Um, he discovered that he liked sausage gravy on eggs. And although, like I said, he dislikes biscuits, so um, I've made pies for him with scrambled eggs and sausage gravy, and we've also had it over toast. That works as well. I am going to give a little bit more now that this has had a chance to settle a bit and solidify, to cutting the other line in here. And just like any good lasagna that's nice and liquidy with the sauce, it combines with the cheese, and when it's cut, when it's hot, everything kind of gooshes in to cover the area that you have actually cut the solidity out of. So this area here doesn't have the noodles anymore, but it has extra filling and extra cheese from all of the other areas. And they have migrated in to kind of go zhoomph into where we took it out of. And yes, that's a technical term. Zhoomph. It is really lovely. You could also make this with a bacon gravy instead of sausage. Anything like that would combine well with it. I am astonishingly certain that I mentioned that I imported my husband from Devon. So, uh, and now we have the next bit coming up. It's liquid. Okay, it is not done. Drat. Okay, should only take 20 minutes. I don't know why it didn't. No, 20. Okay, so we've got another 10 minutes of cooking time on the Panicaku. And that would be my drink. So on our next stream, I haven't really planned much, but I am suspecting I will be making a chicken dish. Um, I will either be making spaghetti or I will be making chicken fettuccine, one or the other. Hey, Curie, welcome in. Did you uh, did you manage to catch the big reveal on the big sloppy mass of uh, sausage gravy breakfast lasagna I made? Zoomp. Oh dear. Andrew's having fun making me clips again. Yeah, the breakfast lasagna is wonderful. I probably would have cooked it another 5 minutes to get the toasting on the top, but although it is a very sloppy lasagna because of all of the sausage gravy in it, it is also absolutely delicious. The gravy is velvety and smooth, and you've got the scrambled eggs in here and all that cheese. It's just biscuits and gravy without the actual biscuits. So it is wonderful. We need to get a shout out for Curie, who is one of the Long Dark streamers. And she has absolutely amazing streams, especially the ones where she does her blind loper ones. She puts on a blindfold and she actually guides her significant other, Puffy, through the maps of the Long Dark. It is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. She will say things like, okay, you need to take about 12 steps, and what is on your left? You should be seeing this, and there should be a path up, and wow. If he follows her directions, she can guide him around those maps like nothing I've ever seen. It's absolutely incredible and very entertaining because it's also usually a stream where they are enjoying adult beverages. So it can get very funny and very silly. Raid you once in a while? Well, if you're streaming, we would raid you. um, anyway, we are waiting another 10 minutes for the baked pancake to come out of the oven. There was a miscommunication there. I may have said 10 minutes on the time. 6 more minutes? Okay. You have a wonderful stream, Curie, and you have an absolutely beautiful voice. So we have so many women that have such lovely voices that are such good players of the Long Dark and very supportive of everybody. And it was just, it's just so much fun seeing your streams and, watching Maverick streams when he streams. Welcome back in, Kind Al. Making you hungry is what I intend to do. Now, what you really should know is I've still got a third of my sausage gravy sitting here, and that can be had on scrambled eggs or poached eggs. You needed to go fix something? Well, here you go, Prof. I have some nice sausage gravy left over here that you can put over your toast. Oh, snap. You're not close enough to do that, are you? Darn. I will take, and for those who may have missed the reveal, I will show you the filling of this wonderful lasagna. It's got a little bit of noodle in it. It's got egg in it. It has got the sausage gravy and sausage, and it has got oh so much gravy to make this. Okay, here we go. I am going to show this to you in a spoon because a fork just won't do it at this point. So here is the filling here, and you can see the egg sitting out there and a big lump of sausage. It's in the sausage gravy. It's filled with cheese. And then, of course, I get to eat that bite too. Yum, yum, yum. If you like um, biscuits and gravy, you'll love this. I would not recommend using the uh, oven-ready noodles, the ones that you take. Hey, Professor. Can we get a shout out for Professor Niels as well, honey? Um, He's someone that I mod for, and he's just a wonderful person. We have, I would not put the oven-ready noodles in there. They're ones that you don't have to boil ahead of time, but you do have to cook it for at least 45 minutes in the oven. And if you do that with this, you're going to end up with rubbery eggs. It's not really meant to be in the oven that long, 20 to 30 minutes tops, and that would not give you a good noodle. So you do have to do it the old-fashioned way and actually boil your noodles first. So that is our lovely creamy gravy, and we are going to have so much fun with this in our house. My dad won't go near it because for some reason he doesn't like biscuits and gravy. No power outage for us, fortunately. That's good to hear. We have got inclement weather starting here. This morning it was only 32 degrees and really cold coming in our window. And by the middle of the week, they're forecasting the possibility of snow. They may change that and back off, but right now they're forecasting the weather, the temperatures going lower and lower, and then giving us winter mix, rain, sleet, snow, possibly freezing rain. And then we have a couple days where just snow is forecast, hopefully not a lot, because that absolutely paralyzes the area. And that makes it so that my parents can't get out to doctor's appointments, and neither can I. Mom walks with a cane or a walker, and Dad is now in a wheelchair. And I use canes to walk, and that just doesn't work with snow and ice on the ground. Just too dangerous to go out there and possibly slip and fall. So that's not great. Now, if we have absolutely nowhere to go, I'm perfectly happy with it snowing because I think it's beautiful. We are in the Pacific Northwest. We are outside of Seattle and kind of up against mountains. So we're up against the Cascade Mountains. So being in the foothill area, we tend to get a lot of the colder weather. And when it starts snowing in the mountains, we get snow here too, although generally a lot less. Yeah, Kathy of the AFK Kitchen is someone that is within a hop, skip, and jump of us, or at least a reasonable drive, although that becomes less reasonable as you go through the day. A little bit longer. Give it about 5 minutes. I don't know why. It's probably because instead of being spread out into my normal pan, it is. If you use a 10-inch pan, it takes less time for this to cook because it's thinner. This is a new pan for us, and it is not as big as the one that I'm used to using. So it's deeper, so it's taking longer to cook. So here it is here, and it's rising up a little bit, but it's still a bit liquid in the center, so it probably wants another 5 minutes. Yeah, we actually have a lot of power issues. We have a lot of winds here. We have a lot of the power going out, but fortunately we are on the same power grid as the hospital, so we are generally the first ones to get our power back up. Yeah, Fires, not good. Fortunately, they tend to stay away from where we are. We are urban enough that we generally don't have to worry about anything more than smoke from the wildfires. So we do get lightning strike wildfires that start up in eastern Washington where it is very, very dry, and we also get them in the mountains when uh, the dry weather hits in late fall, end of summer, and we will have dry lightning, and we will end up having wildfires from that. So, however, it is not uncommon for us, like I said, to be having fine weather here and suddenly our power is flickering because somewhere up in the mountains, somewhere close on our power grid that we're on from one of our substations or switching stations, they've got winds and it knocks the power out somewhere, and so we have a lot of power flickering, which is why all of our electrical equipment that we care about, our TVs, our computers, things like that, are all on a UPS. Um, we really don't want to have the nastiness of having our computer burn out because we had the power flicker and it didn't have a surge protector on it. UPS for the win. Yeah, they exactly. We have the ones that are about the size of a car battery. So these are not small UPSs, but then again, we're talking about um, multiple things on one. You're talking about not only the computer, but in Andrew's case, 3 or 4 monitors, I think, and I can't remember if it's 4 or just 3. And we also have televisions on the same circuit. So 3 monitors for now. Yeah, we're hoping he gets another one because he is commonly having uh, multiple um, screens up at once where he's modding for more than one person, he's looking things up on the internet, and well, look around. They're actually having some nice sales as long as you're not looking for really big monitors. Um, Andrew and I about 3 years ago bought each other for our anniversary 32-inch monitors each, and I don't think I had mine a month when I had a horrendous accident with mine. It was on its mount and everything, but like I said, I use crutches and I sit commonly in a big easy chair. And I had my crutches on the wrong side of the easy chair close to the monitor, and when I flipped the legs up, the crutch flew up into the air and hit the monitor about a third of the way across, about 1 inch into the bottom of the monitor. So it was literally right on the edge of the rim. And it just threw a crack all the way up the thing, and it had about a 2-inch dead spot on the thing, and uh, I cried. I was so upset. I cried. It was nasty. I didn't so much wail, but I did actually sob. So it was very upsetting because we really didn't we had taken the money that we had and saved it up, and uh, we didn't have the money to replace it. So I had to go back to a 19-inch monitor that was very, very old, and the resolution on it wasn't good. So there was nastiness involved there, and eventually uh, we managed to scrape together enough money to get me a smaller monitor. Um, it's still pretty darn big actually for its use. It's about a 27-inch monitor instead of a 32. But what I had at the time was a 32-inch curved monitor, so it was beautiful and fun, and It was exactly what I wanted, and I had it for less than a month. So that was the horror. Okay. Yes, it will be very hot, and I will let it cool. Thank you. Do we have a butter knife that I can cut this with? A sharp knife is not good. So as you can see, it's now solid, and I can touch it. Thank you, sweetheart. And as I mentioned, you cut this as you would a pie, and it has a very moist texture when it's done. And you just divide it into, I would say, 6 pieces, possibly up to or down to 4, depending on how many people you're serving and how big a pieces you want to have. I have never made this with oat milk before. I have never made this with oat milk before, but I'm giving it a shot here. It has an almost custardy texture to it when it's cooked. Okay, so what we have here, if you can see it, is a slice of it, and I am going to use the spoon again and cut off the tip of it and raise it up so you can see it in profile. So as you can see, this actually has thickness to it. I hope it will actually, come on you thing. Here, focus. It has thickness to it. It's got a moist center, and it's got the raisins in it. I'm gonna take a bite now.
Less than 3.
Sorry, very warm. Um, it has that creamy custardy texture, and what have I got here? Oh my goodness, Curie, you gave us a $50 tip. That is so generous of you. Oh boy, that is amazing. Thank you so much. And for that, you get a pink pig dance. So here is my little pink pig, and she will now dance in happiness for you. Pink pig, pink pig. Thank you, Curie. Thank you. Pink pig thanks you. Yay, Curie. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. The money that we are raising in our tips is going to improve the stream, get us possibly a second camera. Well, my first word was money. After Mama and Dada, my first word that I spoke was money. It is a big joke in the family. So here you see again the piece. You can see, I'll make sure it doesn't slide. You can see that it has thickness to it. This is about 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch thick. You can see the raisins on the bottom. It has a very creamy texture. I like it a bit better with milk instead of oat milk, but this is certainly acceptable. It tastes good. And like I said, it tastes kind of like a very eggy, very, very moist pancake. It's naturally sweet, but not overwhelmingly so. Um, I highly recommend you try this. Um, in any case, thank you all so much for coming. Having you guys turn out and see my streams is just incredible, and your generosity, Curie, just overwhelms me. Um, the generosity of all of my viewers overwhelms me, and Go ahead and try this, Curie, if you have the ingredients. I mean, it's eggs, flour, milk, a little bit of sugar, some cinnamon. Um, you could have this Panicaku whipped together and out in 20 minutes. So you can give that. Anyway, let's give a see who exactly we can possibly uh, raid. We have mm, we have Babbagenator on and Hambone, and we have never raided Hambone. So let's raid Hambone 81. I am sure that he will appreciate that. And he is a long dark streamer. Thank you all so much for coming. We will see you again on Tuesday.